Hello, welcome to the Paper Snob. This is Tara. Today I am combining 2 hops into one. The first hop, of course, is Mix It Up Monday. This is a hop that I hostess over on the Peacecraft Love Clubhouse Facebook community group. Information to join that group if you would like to play along next month is below. We do have a list of Instagram participants, and I list those first in my description box so that they get their own attention. The ladies who do YouTube will be on a playlist below as well, and I create a new playlist each month for Mix It Up Monday, so you will be able to just watch today's videos and get to see what everybody does with the sketch that I chose. So it is 30 Days of Sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life. This is the sketch that I chose to use for this month because of 30 Days of Sketches, and it makes it easier for those of us who are participating to not have to create 2 videos and 2 layouts for the day. And so I chose this particular sketch. It was created by Carina Nilsson. I will have her YouTube account listed below for you. Make sure you give her a shout out for this absolutely fun sketch. And so what I have for you today is, this is a template that I made with my Sizzix. And I don't remember what I made it for, but I just used a circle die, 2 of them, 2 sizes, and a piece of stencil material, and I cut them out with my Big Shot. So I'm going to use that. I have photos of my son from Halloween night in 2016. I'm going to use those. I have my watercolor pencils from Tim Holtz. I have only the 3 sets. I decided not to order the remaining ones until I started putting these to good use. I have 2 pieces of Vicki Boutin Foundations paper because I'm going to be using watercolors and water. I wanted the thicker cardstock. I also have some paper from, excuse me, from Happy Haunting by Simple Stories. There are 3 pieces here. And then these are from Echo Park. And I thought I would pull in this title and some of the other elements. Like there's some circle-y elements on here that I can add to the layout as I see fit, plus some other fun little elements. I have the stickers from this collection as well. And I noticed that there were a couple of different phrases that I wanted to use. So let's pause and get started on that mixed media, all right? All right, I decided not to use that homemade template that I made for circles. I decided that it wasn't enough shapes, or it wasn't enough sizes, rather, of circles to work. So instead, I got out my nesting circle dies, and I'm going to use those to trace circles onto my foundation's cardstock. I am trying to get the big ones first. These are the ones that I will use for pattern paper. And you're going to see a whole lot of Phineas today because he decided that today was the day that he was going to help me paint. Anyway, so one suggestion here, and I knew this doing this that I was going to have a hard time erasing the lines after I paint. And I did it anyway, and you can't really erase the lines, especially not without erasing the actual paint as well. And ask me how I know, because I did it. So next step is I'm going to kind of lay the photos where I think they're going to go, and then I will use some more of the circles to draw circles. So my suggestion, if you do something like this, is if you trace them out and then erase them and then paint, it won't be as noticeable. I do fix this in my own way, and so I'm just going to continue on working. So I am using washi to help hold down the dye. That way I get an actual circle shape. I cannot draw, so this is about as good as I can do, folks. I don't draw at all. All of my kids are extremely talented artists, but I do not draw. So this can be kind of tedious and time consuming to do this, but this is something that I've been wanting to play with, those watercolor pencils. I really love them, and I'm really not picking them up as often as I really should. So I'm going to go ahead and just wing it here. I haven't used them that often, and I'm going to use the watercolor pencils to fill in the circles. And that is why my glass media mat is underneath right now. I have my Versa mats there as well, but I put the glass media mat there because I knew that I would be working with water and I didn't want to make a humongous mess. So moving the circles, and now I think I'm ready to start with the actual painting. So I put the glass media mat there, and then because it's a 2-page, I don't really have room to do anything with it. So I pull out the little mat that comes with my media mat, and this is Kish Flamingo, and I'm going to use that. First I draw on the mat itself and then wet it down, but I'm not getting enough color for this. So what I end up doing is at first I think, okay, well, we're going to try this. So first I go ahead and I paint, and you can see I'm not getting a whole lot of color there. I mean, the color is very light to begin with. So I just start taking the product right off the pencil, and this gives me a deeper tone. And I do just kind of, just blob it on there and wait for it to dry. I'm going to get it in several different circles and on each side so that I have the pink on every side. Now remember, my pattern paper has quite a bit of pink in it, and yeah, I laid it right on top of that wet circle. Nothing bad happens, but it just, what a goober. I don't even know what I was thinking. Luckily I didn't make a humongous mistake. But I do like that I'm getting the depth of color that I want by taking it directly off the pencil. So once I get the color onto this circle, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the next color, but I'm going to wipe off my little mat with a paper towel, and I'm going to blot the circle that I just laid the mat on top of. And now I'm going to do the same. I'm not going to draw though, because it didn't work out right. I'm going to get more of the paint that I want, color and depth that I want here. And yeah, Phineas is really being helpful today. He even dips his paw in it a few times. Silly kitty. And so here's where I realize, well, I can't set it down now. I'm going to have to just move it around a little bit. And at one point I'm holding it above my layout, and yeah, I'm not smacking him. I'm kind of poking at him so that he'll move, because he's way too much help today. It's just not even what I wanted to have happen today. But anyway, so I've got the other orange circle on there, and then my other color in my pattern paper is black, and I do have the black soot colored pencil, but I chose iced spruce instead. It's kind of a grayish, greenish color. It looks more gray most of the time to me than green, but you can see that it's got a little bit of a green tone on here, but it does dry a lot more green than you would expect. So if you noticed, I am leaving some of the 3 large circles that I drew on first. I'm not putting paint in those because that's where my pattern paper is going to go. I am going to be using 3 circles of pattern paper, and then I will use the same pattern papers for the strips that are behind the photos. And I'm using scraps, so I'm going to really have to finagle the strips to get enough. So now I am just kind of using the pencil and my brush, what's left over on my brush, to get a little bit of splatters on here. I'm going to bring in splatters here in a second, but next I'm going to go ahead and use some of this Nuvo, is it glacier paste, I think they call it, and I'm going to put some of, it's just basically very pretty texture paste. It's glittery. And I'm going to use this stencil here. This is a new stencil that I just got, and I'm going to use it to put some more tiny circles on here. I'm also going to be pulling in my grit paste and putting a couple of more stenciled areas as well. So I really love the look of the grit paste. This bottle, when I purchased it, and this is only the second time I've used it, and I just opened it fairly recently, but it was a lot more dried out than the first bottle I bought, and so I'm actually really worried that it's going to dry out completely before I get to use it all. So there are a couple of little places on my paper with the stenciling, so I've got in some texture paste in there. Now I'm going to add some texture to my pattern paper by scuffing it up. I cut 3 circles with the largest nested circle die, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put adhesive on one side of that circle because I'm going to lift up page 1, and I'll have to trim off the circles and then re-glue everything back down. I will add some wet glue also behind those circles as I'm working, because I'm only tacking them down for right now just so that I have them on there so I know what I have left to add to the layout. I am going to be using some of that chipboard. There were a lot of tiny little circles, and so I pulled off all of the little circle elements, including the larger one that says trick or treat, and I will be using those to fill in the circles on my background and, you know, to give some little pops of color here and there. So far I'm liking what I see. I do have a vision here. Hopefully it'll play out the way that I want, and I'm really enjoying playing around with the pencils and the texture paste and the pattern paper. And now I'm adding splatters. This is Kish Flamingo Oxide, and I'm going to add splatters all over the place. And this is where I start worrying about getting the pencil lines off, and I do try to erase a few of them, but I found that it removed the watercolor paint. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take it off camera and I'm going to hand stitch around those circles just to cover up my lines. Otherwise I'm going to have these pencil lines and it's going to bug me forever. I use a new-ish to me stitch called the chain link stitch to stitch this, and so because it's not the stitch that I am very quick with, it takes me quite a long time to hand stitch this, so that it is not on camera at all because it took forever and a day for me to stitch it. Not really, but it just felt like it took forever. I kept having trouble with the thread not laying correctly in the stitch and all kinds of stuff, and I don't know if my issue was because I was stitching in a circle and not in a straight line. I'm not real sure. So stitching is all done now. As you can see, I have cut down some pattern paper into strips. Again, all of the pattern paper that I used except for the ones that I used to mat my photo were scraps. I did cut into a full sheet to mat photos. I'm laying out these strips, just kind of trying to decide where and how they're going to look. I'm going to lay the photos on top to see if they're going to peek out the way that I want them to. And when they don't, what I do is I take them and I tear off bits. Like right here, I'm going to tear off this little bit so that I have another piece of that dot for this other side. And I do this a couple of times, just kind of trying to make sure that I get the strips on there, and they're not actually where they're going to end up. I'm just kind of making sure that I have space to get everything back there. So I had to tear the black gingham one apart for the same reason. And now I know that they're going to peek out from behind the photos the way that I'd like them to. I'm going to pop out the title, and I'm just going to title this Halloween using this Echo Park chipboard. It's perfect, works well, and then I use a lot of the phrases from the Simple Stories sticker sheet that goes with this. I pull in some other elements from the sticker sheet as well, but I'm just kind of popping out all of the circles that will go with this layout. I do realize that I leave an oval behind, and I also pull out one of the skulls that's not technically a circle, but it works. So now I have all the chipboard that I'm going to use, and I'm going to go off camera and I'm going to glue some stuff down. Now I've glued the strips and the photos down, so I'm going to use my wet glue to go ahead and glue my chipboard pieces down. These are a set of chipboard that I picked up at Tuesday morning. I know that this is an older collection, and the adhesive is already bad on it. It's not even staying on the backing sheet anymore, which is fine. I usually have to use wet glue to glue down any chipboard anyway, because I know that this is something that happens. I hate when I pull an album off a shelf and I discover that letters have fallen to the bottom of the page protector. I mean, at least I haven't lost them, but that's really annoying. I did that recently this week. I was looking at a layout in an older album, and the entire title was hanging out at the bottom, so I need to go downstairs where those albums are and just pull them off the shelf one at a time and go through them and start re-gluing all of the chipboard, because when chipboard first came out, you know, we were all excited because it was self-adhesive, and so we didn't realize that the adhesive wasn't going to stay forever. And a lot of the chipboard that I used, I didn't glue with my wet glue after laying it down, because I assumed that the adhesive on it would last. So I'm pulling off the bats from the sticker sheet. I think I get 3 bats on here. I also added the black cat with a pumpkin. I like to use black cats in my Halloween layouts just because we have or had a black cat at the time, and you know, it just reminds me of him, and so I always like to stick them on there. Now I'm adding a few phrases. I think I add a couple of more off camera because I wanted to fill in with a couple of more colors. I brought in that green with the chipboard, and so I wanted to bring in at least one green phrase from the sticker sheet. All right, I got this layout done. This took quite a bit of time to create with the background and the hand stitching, texture paste, all of it. I love how that background turned out. I hope that Carina thinks I did her sketch justice. This was a fun sketch to play with, and I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. Make sure that you check my description box below. There will be a playlist for Mix It Up Monday. There will also be a playlist for 30 Days of Sketches. You may have several videos that are on both. That was kind of done intentionally this year, because normally I only choose a single page layout or sketch for Mix It Up Monday, but because we were already doing 30 Days of Sketches, I thought I'd help some people out and use just the sketch for 30 Days of Sketches for Mix It Up Monday, and that worked out really well. I think it helped a lot of the people who participate in both hops, and I know it helped me out. I want to thank you for coming to my channel today. I really appreciate those of you who take the time to like, comment, and or subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, I would absolutely love to have you subscribe to my channel. It will always be free for you to subscribe, and I do interact with my subscribers, so if you have a comment or question about anything that you saw me use or do on this layout, just drop those below and I'll be happy to answer them for you. You have a great rest of your week. Bye.